Hello and welcome to Eastern Geeks Out, an EP Media associated podcast where I'll be discussing news and interesting topics in the gaming and entertainment world. My name is Deforest White, and I'll be your host for the duration of these episodes. This is our 8th episode of this series, and I am very excited to be back with you all once again. We've had a pretty exciting last couple weeks here. Let's go ahead and start back in between the time, just a couple days after our last episode. The servers for Overwatch 2 finally went up. As many of you may remember, I'm an avid Overwatch player from the first time around, and I was very excited for the game to take a new direction. However, I had a pretty good time from the get-go. A lot of people did not. Queue times when the game first went up were insane. I saw people waiting for several hours to get in, being told that there were 1,999 people in queue in front of them. Not fantastic. There were some reported errors to Blizzard servers regarding cosmetics and purchases from Overwatch 1 that were supposed to carry over, not being able to access them, people having heroes locked behind achievements and paywalls despite being legacy players. I've actually experienced some recurring bugs, particularly one that makes the entire screen blurry with the exception of the red outlines around character models, which I've still had some successful games while playing through that. I guess May just really needs some glasses. There's also, in addition to the new content available as far as like new heroes, we obviously have the additions of Sojourn, the Junker Queen, and Kiriko, the new healer. But there's also some changes to the toolkits of pre-existing heroes. Again, I'm a Mei main. I've been playing her since I started in Overwatch 1 years ago, and her kit has changed pretty severely. Her actual moveset has stayed the same, but how it functions is very different. She no longer has the ability to freeze opponents, merely slowing them down, but she's better balanced because her primary fire has like higher damage output, and across the board, DPS characters get their movement abilities. When you get an elimination or a kill for a short period of time, your character speeds up after the fact, so you're able to get out of situations that like are very like assault heavy pokes. So that's convenient for me personally. However, generally speaking, people online do not seem to be enjoying the game nearly as much as I have been. The response has been fairly critical, it seems like, although more avid players that have been putting a lot of time into it are still enjoying themselves. There's still a lot of issues. And one of those issues is actually related to the fact that Overwatch 2 is completely free to play. It includes a battle pass model where you can pay a premium amount for a season of content as you continue to play the game that you will just unlock consecutively, instead of Overwatch 1 where everything was a purely cosmetic, you level up, you get a crate, there's some stuff in it. Now it's predetermined what you get, and you have to pay every season, which to me, I'm gonna be honest, for as much as people did not like loot crates and the existence of a random number generator in their progression, I was actually fine with it. I enjoy that way more than Battle Pass structures. This is an issue that I had severely with Apex Legends as well as Fortnite back when that was a thing I touched. I don't know. There seems like with other games that have season passes that I play, which largely is fighting games, it's predetermined like, yeah, you pay this singular price for this season and maybe you don't know what's in it yet, but you're going to get the same amount of stuff regardless of whether or not you play the game. You've paid this price, here is the things we owe you. With this, it's like, you have paid us this money, which forces you to play the game more, or else the thing that you have bought has less value. And if you wait too long, then hey, screw you, you're out of luck. It seems extremely predatory from the perspective of the customer, but honestly, with the recent change in who's running things over at Blizzard, i.e. the Microsoft buyout last semester, you may recall from, I think, our third or fourth episode, it honestly makes sense that this is the direction that they're going. Microsoft is a very big proponent of give us all of your money. So, I mean, it's not as if we didn't see this coming. However, I'm still going to complain about it. Moving along from Overwatch 2, we'll talk kind of briefly, but we'll go ahead and give a shout out to the recent Nintendo Direct focused entirely on the Super Mario Bros. Movie trailer. We got a brief talk with Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of the Mario Bros. Franchise, and I believe Chris Meliandri, director over at Illumination Studios, and they both seemed very excited. One of them like, yay, I get to have a movie with my little boys. And one of them, that sure is Chris. However, we also got some brief introductions from the voices of Mario and Bowser, which are, for those of you who haven't heard, Chris Pratt and Jack Black. Chris Pratt talked a bit about his childhood dream of being Mario, which was a speech that he delivered not particularly enthusiastically, while Jack Black was Jack Black and was fantastic, and everyone loved him, and we all applauded. They showed a bit of a brief trailer, largely focused on those two characters. You get a scene of Bowser piloting a lava-filled airship and assaulting one of the kingdoms from the game, the Ice Kingdom, full of they're not technically penguins. I forget what the actual name of the species is. But, you know, the penguin Mario enemies, you know the ones. You threw them off the cliff back in 2000, whatever. So we got to see a bit of that, and it transitioned from that to Mario, who it looks like is being isekai'd to the Mushroom Kingdom. He, like, is new to this world, doesn't know what he's getting into kind of thing, which I'm slightly concerned about. They might take, like, the Mario Brothers Super Show direction of, oh, Mario and Luigi got sucked into a pipe when they were doing a plumber thing, and now they're in the Mushroom Kingdom, and honestly, I'd be okay with that. What I'm concerned about, though, is acting. We got to hear 4 main, like, voice actors in this trailer. I guess technically 5 if you include the Luigi bit at the end there. I forget who is doing the voice of Kamek, leader of the Magic Koopas. But that was fantastic. You get to hear Jack Black as Bowser, who did absolutely wonderfully. You get to hear Keegan-Michael Key's Toad voice, which, honestly, I'm 100% on board with. He did a fantastic job from what little we've heard of it, and it's definitely, like, identifiable as Keegan, while still being, like, just the right amount of obnoxious to be identifiable as Toad. And then there's Mario. Mario just sounds like Chris Pratt, which was my fear going into this. He's not even attempting to do, like, an Italian or a New York accent. It's genuinely jarring how much his voice is just normal Chris Pratt. And I'm hoping, sincerely, that this is not indicative of what his voice sounds like for the whole movie, because what I anticipate this being is he spends the entire movie doing normal Chris Pratt voice, and then there will be, like, one climactic moment where he does the Wahoo voice, and we're all supposed to stand up and clap and cheer and go, oh, he did, that's what he sounds like in the games. But no, I took a look at some of the international trailers, particularly the French and the Japanese ones, and it seems as though all of the other voice actors, like in other countries, are doing Mario impressions. So like you're going to get a good Mario voice everywhere but English speaking countries where you're going to get Chris Pratt. And I genuinely do like Chris Pratt. He's very fun in the MCU. He's very fun in the Lego movie. I enjoy him as an actor. I believe this to have been either a miscast or maybe just a poor direction taken with the voice. Because if you were to take just the voice lines that we heard Mario say in this movie and put them over any of the characters that Chris Pratt has done in the past, but put it over, I don't know, like Parks and Rec or something, and it's indiscernible. You can't tell that he's doing a character voice. It's kind of the same problem that I have with Bryce Papenbrook, a notable voice actor, where he just does like the same voice for everything. But with Chris Pratt, well, he does the same voice for everything because normally he's acting as just like a guy. And this is a scenario where he can't be just a guy. I feel let down. That being said, I'm still going to give them my money to go watch the movie because I'm me. So this was an inevitability from the jump. There was a brief bit where we got to hear Charlie Day's Luigi after the intro credits, but we didn't get to really hear like very much of it. In all honesty, mostly it was just him like doing like panic squealing, trying to hold a door shut. However, I will say across the board, the animation for this movie looks pretty damn good. Like it's solidly animated. The characters all move like very fluidly. There's kind of some iffy facial movement on Mario himself, but I think that may be just because it was like tracking Chris Pratt's face, and it's like, I mean, there's no way to describe it other than like exaggerated minion face, but it's not bad. I do genuinely think that the movie will end up being good. So I can't claim that we're like, I won't say that we're out of the woods, but I don't think that this is going to be the disaster that a lot of people anticipated it being. Although I am particularly critical of Chris Pratt's voice. Following up on that, we have something very exciting as far as fighting games go. I think earlier today was the end of the Street Fighter 6 beta, which sadly I did not get an invitation to join. I was very, very excited, but I did not get to be a part of it. However, all of the people that did, I've been seeing gameplay from Justin Wong. I've been seeing gameplay from Maximilian Dude. I've been seeing gameplay from Punk and Smug and a bunch of like the old guard of competitive Street Fighter players. And this game looks like an absolute blast. For one thing, the graphical like capabilities of next gen consoles are doing their jobs really well. The game looks gorgeous, but in addition to that, just like the dynamics of the stages that we've seen, in particular, there's a stage that I think we initially thought was Ryu's stage. That's like this place in Metro City that has sort of a temple in the back, and then a bunch of like beautiful cherry blossoms, like sakura leaves, like falling down everywhere. And I didn't realize until looking at the beta footage that all of those blossoms aren't just like a background element. Like they are being individually rendered, like as your characters move and fall around the stage, they're being like pushed and swayed, and they're like moving with the pushback from all of your special moves and everything. And different moves will push them in different directions. And that's such a tiny little detail that's so cool that they didn't have to do, but they have. And as I was noticing that, just more and more things like that started to show up. There's a small little detail. There's a character named Kimberly, who's the next in line to the Bushin Ryu clan, who, one, looks like an absolute blast to play. I was never really a big fan of Guy, her master, but I loved his master, Zeku, as well as Maki, as she played in Capcom vs. SNK 2 and Street Fighter Alpha 3 in, I think that was the PlayStation Portable version, although I just played it via emulator. Don't tell anybody. And there's you can definitely see she's got like a lot of the elements of their move sets like sewn into her kit, but more than that, she's got so much personality. She like plants bombs around the stage with spray bottles, like graffiti style, and she uses those for some of her teleports and set play. But also, after she does her level 3 super, she gets this sort of like music equalizer halo around her head that puts some like extra background music behind the stage, sort of like Yang worked in Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle when she got low health and I Burn would start playing. But there's another detail to that. So when you have two Kimberlys playing against each other, and they each do a level 3 to each other, so they both have the halos, you get another level of music added on where all of a sudden there's like some rap music going along to her theme, and it's just so much fun. There's a lot of like smaller, minute things. There's some hidden taunts in the game that level up as you get more drunk with Jamie. And Luke has a taunt where he like pretends to do Ryu's Hadouken in a very like mocking like Hadouken kind of voice. It's very fun. And overall, the game just looks like it's absolute blast from a casual perspective. They've added in all of these like wacky new modes that I don't think people got to play too much with in the beta. I know that they had the mode that was like your health gets turned into knockdowns, and you can call in, you can set the stage to periodically like a bull will run across and knock down your opponents. And that's all fun. I don't know exactly how much of that was included in the beta, since we didn't really get to see too much of like the open world content or unlockable content. And there's still characters that we haven't had access to. I know E Honda, Dhalsim, and Blanca have been like confirmed. We've seen gameplay of them, but they weren't included on the playable roster in the beta. But of the characters that we have seen, Ryu, Chun-Li, Ken, Jamie, Luke, and Jury, I think? Yeah. They all look so fluid. The addition of the drive impact system, where you can spend part of a separate gauge underneath your health meter to like rapidly approach the opponent, and almost like a command dash or a Rekka, have like different follow-ups that each lead into unique combos from them, particularly like between standing and crouching opponents, is so versatile that I've seen like 60 to 70% combos with every character in the game. And that's amazing. It doesn't require counter hit. It doesn't require crush counters. These are like things that were huge complaints about Street Fighter V when it first came out, where like the game doesn't have enough content. The game doesn't have enough combo like choice. There's like a singular correct flow to combos, and once you've figured out what's optimal, the meta stagnates pretty quickly. And while Street Fighter V eventually got out of that trap towards like its last couple seasons with the additions of characters like Seth and Gil and Dan, all the way up to the last character literally being from Street Fighter 6 with the addition of prequel Luke. It's astonishing to see just how much is going to be in this game on launch. We get like a full open world single player campaign with an insane amount of customization from the create a character perspective. I was looking at like the various there's people who had access to the Street Fighter V beta making like copies of other characters or like trying to get their OCs into the game. And then there were also the people who are like, I'm going to mess around with this system. So you won't end up walking out there with this monstrosity with like pencil thin legs and the buffest shoulders you've ever seen, walking out here looking like a T-bone steak. And that's fantastic. I love that that's an option available to people. It is the most terrifying thing you've ever seen when they're like in a single room all together, T-posing and like rushing at you. That being said, I don't honestly think that when the game comes out, there's going to be a ton of people in each one of those rooms. Obviously, the servers for the beta were absolutely flooded. However, Capcom seems to be taking inspiration from Arc System Works games when they're taking like their lobby system into consideration. For those of you unfamiliar with how those work, very frequently there will be like arcade setups, like cabinets where you will go to a station and another player will go to that same station on the other side, and the two of you being at that station brings you into a match where you fight in a one-on-one system. And it was like that for BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. It was like that for Guilty Gear Xrd. It was like that for, it's like that for DNF Duel most recently, which I've also been playing a lot more of. This is a system that is just like tried and true for them. But another thing that's like more frequent than people realize is sub rooms, and there being like multiple lobbies that you can choose to go from that show you how many people are in each one. And that is something that Arc System Works does a lot, that I anticipate Capcom doing as well. I cannot say for certain, but I think that most likely what will end up happening is there will be a cap, like a certain number of people that can be in the battle hub. And there will be a list of open battle hubs that you can go to, and you can be like, okay, well, this one is like 47 out of 60 people are in there. That seems like a good amount where I can go in and probably get a fight pretty easily. But also, if I'm trying to have like some recurring rounds with like one or two people so that I can get like a big long set in, then I can go down here to the lobby that has like 2 or 3 people in it, and I can run in there and jump on a cabinet where they're already fighting. And that's great. And generally, the only problem with that is like thinking that you're more private than you actually are, or becoming like a toll for the servers on Capcom's side to take care of. However, based on the amount of budget, like the production value for the game as we see now currently holds, I honestly don't think that'll be too much of an issue. We already know that the game's going to be running rollback netcode. We already know that the game is going to feature, like, you're going to be able to challenge people, not just in the battle hubs, but also on the streets in the World Tour mode. What we don't know is whether those two things interact with one another. Are the people that you challenge in the streets in World Tour going to be other players, or are they going to be NPCs, or is it going to be a combination of both? And depending on where they take that, I think that's going to give us an idea of where the direction goes as far as like what people are going to spend most of their time doing. We also don't know if the character that you create in World Tour mode that serves as your avatar is going to be playable in normal competitive or PvP matches, because we don't know how character building works. In all of the footage that we've seen from World Tour, you like your character gains abilities from the people around Metro City that you can get to teach you. So far, we've seen this done with E Honda, with Blanca. Well, actually, we haven't seen Blanca teach you. We've just seen somebody do one of Blanca's moves. We've seen it with Ryu and Chun-Li and Luke. And as an aside, at the very least with Luke and Chun-Li, we've also seen notable named NPCs that have their own like splash screens and introductions that are important to like the storylines. Well, almost like a Pokemon rival character to to the person that you play as. And I'm very curious to see if they become their own characters that have like their own unique movesets and backstories and such, or if they just exist as a like rival in that character's dojo. I think it would be really interesting if we ended up seeing like the beginning of the new generation, that the Street Fighter 3 callback there, and like the direction that these different schools are taking. But generally, thoughts are extremely positive, and Street Fighter 6 looks like it's taking things in an incredible direction. The big long combos are amazing. The character designs are fantastic. I've never been a Blanca player, but I'm really excited to see how like Blanca plays now that he's a zoning character and he's got like a certain number of Blanca-chan dolls that he can put on stage. I'm also very curious to see if the pre-existing characters are going to be personalizable outside of just colors. Street Fighter V had a lot of like alternative costumes you could give people, and I'm going to be honest, all I want in this world is for Street Fighter 6 to have like Entrepreneur Blanca, where he gets to wear a suit and he gets to be a big green jungle man with his big toy company that's very successful, and I want him to have all of the money and be my friend. Outside of that, I really don't have too much to talk about. There's like some very minor stuff. Fall Guys is doing like a Star Trek crossover series, which for someone named after Star Trek, hi there, I'm DeForest. I'm named after DeForest Kelly. I mean, it's pretty cool. That's neat. But that's all I got for you. Thank you very much for listening. Again, I'm Deforest White. If you want to contact me to talk about anything on the podcast, or if you have any questions, comments, feedback, you can find me at deforest_white124@mymail.eku.edu, or you can talk to our broadcasting director, Ryan Gumm, at Ryan_Gumm, that's GUMM1 @mymail.eku.edu. For more Eastern Progress content, you can find our website at www.easternprogress.com, where you can also find a podcast application if you would like to create your own show. You can find us on Facebook at The Eastern Progress, and on Twitter and Instagram just at Eastern Progress. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, night, and morning, and whatever comes consecutively thereafter. I'm an English major. I know how to speak. Leave that in, Jordan. Good night, everybody.